Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take your sources, your research, and really pull out the critical knowledge you need.
And today we are jumping into a really fascinating space.
We're looking at one of the most volatile and, frankly, massive consumer landscapes out there. E-commerce in India. Now, the client for this deep dive is a major brand in India's home appliances sector. And just to set the scene for you, this is an enormous market. We're talking about a projection of, US $64 billion in revenue in 2025 alone.
And it's still growing aggressively. That kind of scale means the competition isn't just fierce. I mean, it's absolutely brutal.
So what was the core problem they brought in?
The challenge was immediate. The client shared that they were struggling to just maintain their market share. Competitors were using these dynamic pricing strategies to constantly undercut them on platforms like Amazon and Flipkart.
And their old methods weren't cutting it.
Not at all. Their existing, human-driven processes were just bleeding time and margin. They were always a step behind.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where we get into sources outlining this advanced agentic AI solution they implemented. And this isn't just a reporting tool. We're talking about an adaptive system that moved them from being reactive, always chasing prices, to being proactive.
To leading the market, really. And we can actually quantify that success. The sources showed this shift led directly to a 15% uplift in e-commerce sales volume.
A 15% uplift. That's significant.
It's huge. So for you, the listener, we're going to break down the actual mechanics of how an AI engine delivers that kind of competitive edge. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. So let's start with the root challenge, what the sources are calling the problem of the hidden price. Historically, they were relying on manual checks, right? Teams literally logging onto websites, pulling prices.
And hoping they caught the major shifts. It was slow, it was expensive, and of course, it was just riddled with human error.
But the issue wasn't just speed, was it? It was something deeper.
Exactly. It was the lack of depth. The core concept here is what's called the effective price. In these dynamic markets, the list price you see on the page is almost meaningless.
Right.
The client was totally blind to the layers of complexity that determine what a customer actually pays. We're talking instant discounts, specific bank offers that are time-sensitive, promotional coupons you can stack.
And even bundled deals. So the price on the page isn't really the final price at all.
Not even close. It's a calculation. It's based on a specific user with a specific payment method at that exact moment in time.
Which would require constant visibility to track.
Precisely. And the volatility just made it worse. They were missing flash sales that might only last an hour. And critically, they were missing regional differences. We heard that PIN code-specific offers could be the difference between making a sale and losing a customer entirely.
And the data you found really highlights the urgency here. I mean, brands that are operating without this kind of intelligence are taking on a huge amount of risk.
Oh, absolutely. The research is clear. Brands that have these unaddressed hidden price gaps can see their market share drop by 15 to 20%.
That's a massive incentive to do something different.
A huge one.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. The solution wasn't just about collecting data better. It was about synthesis. The client deployed this AI-driven monitoring and pricing recommendation engine, an agentic AI solution. And this seems to track with broader e-commerce trends, right?
It does. Over 70% of major retailers are expected to be using dynamic models like this by 2025.
So what made this engine so powerful?
Well, it leveraged advanced machine learning algorithms. It wasn't just scraping a price snapshot. It was processing these vast data sets in real time, looking at historical patterns, and even factoring in external market signals. But most importantly, it modeled demand elasticity.
Okay, hold on. For you, the listener, who maybe isn't neck deep in economics, can you just give us a quick breakdown of what it means for an AI to model demand elasticity?
Of course. Think of it as the system's ability to predict how sensitive customers are to price changes.
Okay.
It answers the question, if we drop the price by X, how much will our sales volume go up? Or if we raise it by Y, how many sales will we lose? The ML algorithms calculate this for every single product against every competitor.
So it provides the why behind every recommendation.
Exactly. It moves the system from just being a data tracker to being a predictive strategist.
Got it. Okay, so let's get into the weeds a bit.
Yeah.
What were the actual operational parts they had to build to make this work?
We can break the engine down into three main integrated tools that handle the data pipeline. The first one is competitor SKU mapping.
And that sounds simple, but I'm guessing with home appliances, say, two different washing machines from two different brands, it's not a simple one-to-one comparison.
You're exactly right. They might look similar but have key differences. So this mapping component used AI to benchmark the client's 20 flagship products against maybe 5 to 10 comparable competitor SKUs. It's like fuzzy matching at a massive scale.
So they're always comparing apples to the closest possible apple.
And it's updated in real time.
So once you know what to watch, you have to actually watch it. That brings us to the second tool, high-frequency data monitoring.
Yes, and this is where the sheer volatility of the Indian market required some pretty specialized tech.
We're not talking about checking once a day.
Not even once an hour. We're talking automated screening several times within the hour during peak sales periods. And to make sure they didn't get blocked and miss those flash sales, they had to use resilient methods like proxy rotation and multi-attempt protocols.
Okay, so proxy rotation sounds technical. Why do you need something that complicated just to check a price on a website?
Because the e-commerce platforms, Amazon and Flipkart, they're actively trying to block automated scraping, especially high-frequency scraping. If the system uses the same IP address over and over, it just gets blacklisted. So proxy rotation means the system is constantly changing its virtual identity to maintain coverage. It ensures that the data on, say, buy box winners keeps flowing in without any interruption. It's the cost of doing business in this automated world.
That really illustrates the technological barrier to entry here. So you have all this clean, resilient data coming in. What turns it into strategy?
That's the final module, the effective price computation engine. This is what solved that initial hidden price problem. It basically acts like a simulated shopping cart for every possible scenario.
So it's adding in all those variables we talked about.
All of them. It aggregates and calculates the true customer-facing price, factoring in the bank deals, the coupon codes, the EMI options. It delivers the one number that actually dictates whether a customer clicks buy.
So the leap from just having data to taking strategic action is where these dynamic pricing recommendation AI agents come in.
Yes. This is where you go from understanding the weather to deciding if you need an umbrella.
And the beauty of it was how specific the recommendations were.
Exactly. They weren't just, lower your price. They were grounded in those elasticity models. So, for instance, the system might give a really targeted recommendation like, reduce price by 300 in Delhi to regain buy box dominance.
It would add the why.
And it would add the why. Projected to increase sales volume by 12% based on localized elasticity models.
That's powerful. But what about the other side of that coin? Margin protection. So often you see brands just chase a competitor down in price and kill their own profitability.
The system actively prevents that. A margin protection alert might say something like, maintain current pricing. Competitor's bank promotional discount is set to expire in 48 hours.
So don't react.
Exactly. Don't engage in unnecessary margin erosion. It allows the client to ride out those temporary dips and protect their bottom line.
This brings us to what might be the most critical feature, the learning feedback loop. The system didn't just give advice, it learned.
It did. Every suggestion was logged by the pricing team as either accepted or rejected, and this feedback was essential. If the team kept rejecting recommendations that dropped the margin below a certain point, the AI learned that constraint.
So it's constantly retraining itself based on the client's actual business decisions.
Yes, refining its models for their specific risk tolerance and their strategic goals. It gets smarter over time.
What did the team itself say about this? I mean, going from hours of manual checks to this.
Well, they told us they were spending up to 10 hours a week just manually verifying bank offers.
10 hours a week.
Just on that. Now that time is spent on strategy, on validating the AI suggestions, not just tedious data entry. It's a massive operational and, frankly, psychological shift.
Okay, so let's talk about the bottom line. What does all this mean for the client's results? Let's review that transformation.
The results were immediate. First, that 15% uplift in e-commerce sales volume.
And that was mostly driven by recapturing the buy box, right? Can you quickly explain for our listeners why winning the buy box is so critical in this kind of automated environment?
Of course. The buy box is that coveted add to cart button on a marketplace. Whoever holds that button gets the vast majority of the sales for that product.
So it's everything.
It's almost everything. And in this hyper-competitive space, competitors are algorithmically adjusting their prices constantly to try and win it. This AI system gave the client the speed they needed to react and adjust, ensuring they held that buy box far more often, especially during huge sales events like India's festive season.
That explains the sales boost. But what about the other side? The efficiency gains. Did they outweigh the upfront cost of a system like this?
The efficiency gains were very rapid. Getting rid of those manual checks freed up significant person hours every single week. Industry analysis shows AI automation in retail can boost efficiency by 30 to 40%, and this case really confirmed that.
And what about trust in the system? Did the team adopt it quickly?
They did. The internal recommendation acceptance rate hit 70% within just 3 months, which is a really strong sign that the team quickly began to trust its accuracy.
And the system itself just got smarter over time.
Yes, its inherent accuracy improved by 25% over the first 6 months. Plus, they gained that incredible strategic clarity from the PIN code level insights.
We mentioned PIN codes earlier. Why does that regional variation account for up to a 25% difference in sales? What makes that so critical?
It's largely down to logistics. In a huge market like India, a competitor might have a specific fulfillment center that makes it cheaper for them to offer bigger discounts or subsidized shipping, but only within a certain cluster of PIN codes.
So you don't have to fight them everywhere.
You fight back only where it matters. It lets you protect your margins in areas where the competitor isn't even a threat.
So ultimately, the entire pricing operation evolved from a reactive tactical game.
To a continuous adaptive process.
Yeah.
It empowered their leadership to be proactive, to get ahead of market shifts instead of always playing catch-up.
That really is the key takeaway, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. In a market this dynamic, this level of competitor intelligence isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's a foundational necessity. And the self-optimizing nature of the AI means every decision refines future recommendations. You're building a compounding advantage that traditional methods just can't match.
You know, we focus heavily on price intelligence here,
Yeah.
and clearly it delivered massive results. But the sources you shared mentioned this agentic system concept is being applied elsewhere, specifically a related post about autonomous customer service operations. And that raises a fascinating final thought for you, the listener, to consider. What happens when this same self-improving agentic AI approach is applied not just to pricing, but to completely different commercial operations?
Like customer service, supply chain.
Or even core marketing campaigns. The potential for that compounding advantage seems to extend far beyond just the price tag.
Absolutely.
Something to think about. Thank you for sharing your sources with us. We hope this deep dive gave you a clear, actionable understanding of AI's real-world impact.
Until next time.
See you next time for the deep dive.